very much. Your subscriptions mean the world to me. So this is the 2021 forecast for the year of 2021 for the sign of Virgo. So we're talking about people with sun, moon, or rising in the sign of Virgo. And we're also talking about people that might have heavily placed planets in Virgo. So if you have more than 3 planets in the sign of Virgo, you may want to watch this. It might give you some sort of indications of what kind of year you might experience. These readings are extremely flexible in the sense that they're written or they're created for the sign or the energy of Virgo. So taking that into account, each card is going to represent for about a month during the year. Of course, you can't describe an entire month of a lifetime of living, in one card. So there is some flexibility just to give you a brief overview of what you might or might not experience. If anything doesn't resonate or doesn't, match up, it doesn't mean anything's wrong. It just might mean that you might be working on something else, something different. You might have other planets or influences, houses, all of that sort of stuff in your horoscope that might be having a bigger effect on it. But this is like to give you a guideline or what you might expect or an overall outlook. What else was I going to say? If things do work for you and you decide to utilize this reading or make any decisions in your personal life, know that those decisions are your responsibility. Never take anything that I say over the advice of a professional in their field, i.e. like a doctor, a lawyer, or a therapist. I think you practical thinking Virgos, you methodical, smart, sign that you are. You guys already know that, but I do like to say that in my videos now just to be on the safe side so that there's, unsuspecting people don't, give me too much space in their head, so to speak. All right. And above all else, Virgos, which I know you'll do this anyways, is use your own discernment, your own intelligence or intuition, which you guys are known for doing that, but always in those matters, kind of these videos are here to help you, to support you in your own intelligence, your own intuition, your own validation. Okay, so let's get into this and see what's going on with the energy. What do my Virgos need to know? Sun, moon, rising. I can tell you this, these cards feel like all business as I'm shuffling them. So either there's some Virgos out there that really want to hear this message, or some Virgos that are being very clear about how they, what they're going to put up with. There just feels like there's a definite not today. All right, so let's see. First card represents for the month of January, and we've got Knight of Swords. So to me, Swords is the element of air, but this would this kind of feels a bit like Virgo energy as far as the drawing here. We have this cat riding on the back of the wisdom of this owl, the purity of this owl. There's definite direction, there's swiftness, there's speed, there's accuracy, right? Sometimes the Knight of Swords can move a little bit too quickly, right? But I feel like there's decisions being made, there's action being taken in the month of January for the Virgos. I feel like it feels very direct, it feels very upfront, it feels very clear and concise. I like this. Even though it is an air sign card, right, or it is air element card, that being of the Swords, Virgo tending to be a little bit more analytical of the earth signs. This feels very much in line with you guys, even though it's not like your natural element of Pentacles, or it's also not the complementary energy of water or cups. So I kind of like this. This is about Virgo maybe making the plan and taking the action, being really clear, being really almost even there's I don't normally feel this with this card, but in this reading, I feel like there's almost an aggression here. And I don't mean that in a bad way. What I mean is just being aggressive about what we want and going after it. That's kind of the feeling. And not aggressive negatively, but just being real blunt. The only other card where I would feel that it would be, maybe like the King of Wands or something would be really direct and I'm going to take that and make that mine. But this Knight of Swords to me feels, it's just the whole motion of the owl feels very much like, boom, I'm going after this. And so spreading our wings, taking that flight, making the plans, setting it right. Ooh, girl, I'm rapping now. But it's got that vibe to it. So whatever we've been working on probably in 2020, if we've been waiting to make a move, it might be January of 2021 where we actually start to make that move or take that action, certainly mentally, if not physically. But I feel like anything that you guys do mentally first, you are going to pick up and take physically because you're an earth sign. So, and I do feel there's physical motion happening with this owl. I feel like it's swooping in and going after what it wants with like out listening to any sort of outside input is really my feeling here. Now, for each of you Virgos, there might be something different that you're seeking, right? Some of you might be seeking, you know, money. Some of you might be seeking love. Some of you might be seeking, you know, I don't know, health, whatever it is. This is about getting yourself geared up to go after that, right? And getting yourself prepared, creating an actual like intelligent plan. I will say this, it may not be as grounded of a plan as you would like. That would be the air element of this card, but you will execute it with sort of accuracy, determination, that sort of a thing. And that's like sort of that Virgo practicality that comes in and that intelligence that comes in. And even though you might have to move quickly or make decisions quickly on the fly throughout the month of January, I get the feeling that the situation or the decisions that you make or the steps that you take as you take them, they may be very much more in the moment than you would like. They maybe isn't quite as much planning as you would normally have, but that fast movement, I get this sense of accuracy when I'm looking at this card. And sometimes the Knight of Swords doesn't necessarily represent accuracy. He can sometimes represent being impulsive or making mistakes if he's not careful. I don't feel that with this card. I feel like that wisdom of that owl and the swoop that that owl has in this card feels very boom, I see it and I'm going for it. We don't have time to think about it. Let's just do it kind of thing. All right. So it does feel empowered. It does feel somewhat aligned with Virgo's kind of certainly your desire, but it may not be as planned out or as what's the word? Like it might feel very much, I don't want to say it's impulsive, but it feels like you might have to make like split-second decisions, right? In real time in the month of January. Important decisions that move you along in your path, but they will be intelligent and well thought through. All right, so let's see what's February bringing for you. I love it. So February is the card, the Lovers, right? And we also have, this is the representation of the sign of Gemini, which is again more of that sort of air energy, right? The Lovers to me can represent actual love coming into play. It can also just be about feeling sort of in love with our surroundings, our environment, and really feeling the warmth and the wonder of that. There could be some sort of payoff from whatever decisions, like if say, I'm just using this as one of the examples, but you kind of have to interchange the words. But like say in the last few months of 2020, Virgo has been focused on like new love. January is the month to sort of take action. It might be, you know, you might be flying in the moment and making the decisions, but you're thinking things through as best you can. You're making clear, smart thoughts. You're coming from a very pure, determined place. And as you make those decisions towards, you know, landing this love, creating this love, deepening a love that already exists, or, you know, exchange the word love for job or career. You know, you can switch the words out, Virgo. February is the month to kind of reap the benefits of that, to sort of experience the joy of what it is that you have created, starting to understand also why you love what you love, why you've gone after what you've gone after. That's the Lover's card, right? So we can be in love with people, certainly, and that's what this card would obviously represent. But if there's some Virgos out there that aren't necessarily looking for, say, a love situation, you could be looking for a better career or a career that you love, right? That certainly, February might be the month where you really start to decide and understand very clearly what it is that you need and why, and what it is that you deserve and why, and sort of going after that, right? From a place of this sort of love-centered energy, which is very powerful and will bring you kind of blessings. There is a lot of thought going on, I will say, though, because Lovers is the element or the sign of Gemini, and the Knight of Swords is our first month. So there's a lot of Virgo being in their head in these 2 months, but I don't see this as a negative. I see this as actually you guys seeing the power of your brain, how you work, your intelligence, and also tying that intelligence into your emotions, which is kind of where the mind meets, where the sign of Gemini, where the mind would meet like sort of the heart, which is the aspect of the love and the lovers, right? So we're tying that in also, and really experiencing that in February. I feel like this lover's energy is going to help to like sort of propel us forward into the rest of the year. I feel like it's going to be very good for the Virgos, and it's going to be about balance and feeling balanced, feeling connected, feeling charged up and inspired, and it also helps to sort of sustain, like I want to say, the desire or the possibility of whatever it is that we're creating or that we want, actually seeing it being real and making it happen. Does that make sense? So the next card is for March. So this is the Ace of Wands. So Ace of Wands can also be part of love too. Ace of Wands can sometimes signify, you know, very deep, passionate bonds, or it can even, for some, it can represent sexual encounter. When I look at this, though, aces always bring about a newness with them and that sort of excitement, the new sort of doors that open up from that. This particular card makes me think about how that tree is growing up out of this old stump. Do you see that? And there's all those new growths on the branches. And we kind of sit in that tree looking at, like, you know, look at all of these opportunities that I have. I feel like that is part of this lover's energy flowing over into March. New doors, new opportunities that are in line with your spirit, your desire, might be presenting themselves to you in maybe, say, February, or certainly going into March. I kind of get this feeling as I'm looking at this Ace of Wands that it's really Virgo's choice. Which path do we want to choose? Which one is most exciting? There could be, I kind of get a feeling because of all of the branches on that tree, that there could be more than one option for Virgo. That also is the twins aspect of Gemini in the lovers, right? So there feels like, to me, quite a bit of momentum. We also have this, Wands is fire, right? And we're looking at two cards previous. The energy of the 2 months earlier are air, right? And air feeds fire so fire can burn stronger. So in all of this possibility and all of this love that we've got going on in these two cards, right? This sort of mental energy that we've got going on and connecting to things in positive ways brings about this burn that we see in the Ace of Wands, right? Like a fire is ignited, doors are open, options are presented. And like I said, there may be more than one option, but they're all exciting to me is what my feeling is. So the world may kind of, in some way, almost reopen for Virgo in March. February is kind of where we start to begin to reconnect in a really profound, deep, more emotional way. The Ace of Wands to me is about, like, I just feel like that tree sort of explodes forward out of something that was dead. Like, I don't know if... I'm just using this as an analogy, but I don't know if, like, you know, maybe the vaccine shows up in our lives and, like, Virgo's life goes back to normal, and all of a sudden we can get back to work. And where we've been in a dead stump, that dead stump in that tree, we've been in that for maybe the last 9 months of 2020. Now it's time to branch out and explore new opportunities, new growth, new stuff that stimulates us at a deeper level than we've maybe been stimulated or felt in a little while. Okay, the next card is for April. All right, so we've got the Wheel of Fortune. So the Wheel of Fortune is always about whatever we focus on and we put into the wheel, whatever we give our attention to is what we're going to get more back of, right? And what I think is, with these first 3 months, there's a lot of really positive sort of mental energy going on. There's a lot of appreciation, I feel like, in the Lover's card, and then again in the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands would be a little bit more action oriented and movement forward, taking, like, choosing a path and the excitement around that. But then once we've chosen the path, I feel like in the month of April, the wheel is all about, okay, now what are we putting into this endeavor? What are we putting in? We've been putting in really good stuff when I look at these first 3 cards previous, right? We first have the Knight of Swords, which is a little bit of a thinker card. We have the Gemini Lovers, which is all about sort of not only mental acuity and intelligence, but also about sort of love and feeling connected to whatever it is that we're chasing, pursuing, desiring. The Ace of Wands is about that desire opening up, I feel like, and becoming possible, choosing the path, starting to take the steps, being inspired and excited by the opportunities that are presented to us, right? And that's a great feeling. The Wheel is about slowing things down a little bit, but still maintaining our focus. I feel like the Wheel is a good card for you guys because this feels more like Earth energy to me, in the sense that the Wheel slows things down and it's a longer process. Like, this is a card that, in my perception, or the way that I kind of view this card, is it's sort of always kind of moving around in the background. But this month, April, is a month where we want to be really particular about what we're focusing on, where we're focusing it, what we're giving to our lives in certain areas of our lives. Are we filling ourselves with hope? Are we filling ourselves with like frustration? Are we focusing on what's working or what's not? I think that you guys hopefully are focusing on what's working. That's what the first 3 months look like. The most, like, if there's any struggle that I see in these first 4 months, the only thing I would see is like that Knight of Swords could indicate that you guys might be overthinking things or being a little bit impulsive. But other than that, I don't see anything that's really too like bad at all. The only thing is with this Wheel, be aware that what you're focusing on, what you're doing, is what you're creating for the future, right? So keep that in mind as you move forward through the month of April and the rest of the year. Let's see what the other cards have to say, because I might go back to this Wheel and see if it connects to any of the other cards. So the next card is the, it's for May, and this is the Moon. So the Moon, I believe, is Cancerian energy. And the Moon is also major arcana. I'm already going to say that I have a feeling that this might be a big year for the Virgos, just because we're only 5 months in and we've got 3 major arcanas, or at least the early part of the year is going to be probably big, probably impactful, probably make a really big difference. So I would be paying attention to the early part of the year. Oh, and I forgot to say this. I got to remember to say this in my intro. As we get further out with free will and choice, all of these cards are open for change, right? So if there's any card that you see that I'm talking about that doesn't work in your life, or that you don't want to see transpire, you can use this as a warning or whatever to make choices and changes to affect the outcome so the card doesn't come to pass, Virgo. So you don't have to worry that like you're destined to hit this Moon card in May. The Moon card to me is not a bad card. It is associated with Pisces, which is a complementary energy to the sign of Virgo. I mean, not Pisces, I'm sorry, Cancer. Which is a water energy, tends to be a little bit more emotional, tends to be a little bit psychic, but I feel like it's also nurturing, mothering. It can be a little bit moody and subconscious, a little bit hard to read. So in the month of May, we might be getting a little bit of mixed signals, not necessarily sure what's going on. There could be a little bit of fear. Sometimes there's fear with the Moon because things aren't as clear and as concise as Virgo would normally like. But I think that everything that we've put in the first part of the year kind of will help to balance out this Moon. The Moon has a really beautiful power to it. It connects us to our subconscious. It connects us to our unconscious selves, our the quieter voices that exist within us. And I think that it's kind of interesting that this shows up after the Wheel of Fortune, meaning, you know, if we're looking at what we're putting into the Wheel the month before, this is like the further deepening of that look, if that makes sense. Like, we've got our wheels spinning, we've got our desires out there, we know what we want. This Moon card could be a revisit to, you know, our dialogues in, say, our head or our heart of, do we really want this? Do we really deserve this? Do we know what it will be like once we actually have obtained this? Those would be the questions that I would see with the Moon. There could be a little bit of fear about the answers that we get, or not necessarily being able to hear the answers very clearly. But I feel like it's a beneficial card. Again, you'll have a better understanding of who you are by the end of the month in May, and a more clearer understanding. The Moon can be emotional. Cancer can certainly be a moody sign when it needs to be, and it gets kind of pulled back and forth. There is that energy of like how the Moon affects the tides. So thinking about that, if you find yourself being a little bit emotional, a little bit more withdrawn or elusive in a way, in the month of May where you want to maybe pull back from people, that could also be this moon energy. I don't think that's a bad thing, because I think that what ends up happening with this is it brings us closer to ourselves and our own better understanding of who we are and why we desire what we desire. So I think that if that's not too scary for you or bothersome, certainly take May to do that work and dive into that aspect of yourself, because like when a major arcana card shows up, it means that there's something really opportune that's available to you in this month, right? And with this, you know, type of work, or within this vein of the essence of the moon. So I would listen to, say, like maybe the internal voices or my dreams. I would pay closer attention to my dreams in May. I would maybe meditate more or take long walks and have, you know, quiet time with myself, like attach to that deeper side of you, because there's some sort of gift in there. And if you dig, I don't even want to say that you have to dig hard enough, but I think that if you dig sort of within that aspect, there's some gift to be given to you. And I feel like this gift does connect to that wheel, and it does connect to the first 4 months. I'm just going to say that outright. I feel like the wheel, we start to realize what we've got going, and we start to get excited, and we're looking at what we're putting into our wheel, and we might start questioning, do I deserve it? Do I feel like I can really have it? That's where the fears or the I don't want to say the darkness, because I don't see the moon as a dark card. I see the moon as maybe murkier, right? In the sense that we have to, how do I want to put it? Like listen to the more, or look at the more unvisible sides of ourselves, the stuff that we maybe avoid or hide or don't necessarily commune with as often, but it still is there and it's still a part of us, right? And it still has its own sort of voice and effect on our lives. And so when we start to access it, we also start to better, we're opening up the door for us to also better be able to utilize that wheel energy that is in the month previous to it, okay? And that also, like I said, that wheel energy doesn't necessarily leave us. It's just, that's when, you know, April's when maybe the doors start to open for us, either emotionally, spiritually, mentally, whatever, where we start to become aware of what we're actually focusing on, what we're putting into our experience. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, you guys. All right, so here is the card for June, right, June? Okay. And we have the King of Cups. So this ties into definitely that moon energy, right? Because we've got Cancer, which is also a water sign, King of Cups, cups being the element of water, the king being the more mental, right? So we've got this idea back here. We've got all of this swords and Geminian air energy, kings being about swords, cups being about water. We've got that, or kings being about swords and air. So we've got that mental and that emotional coming together. There's always like a sweetness to the King of Cups. He's usually a charming guy. He can be a little bit non-committal. It's sort of my feeling, but when I look at this card, I sort of feel like our eyes are on the prize at this point. I feel like whatever we've gone through the month previous with that moon card, we're sort of free and clear of it, and we have a way better understanding of where we're at emotionally, how we feel about, say, maybe a certain situation or what we desire, whatever it is that we're wanting to create. And I feel like with this King of Cups, we really emotionally have a set point that we are now focusing from. I love that this cat is white on the card, which gives me this idea of purity, right? I also feel like this cat is looking straight to the future. So I would say June, or the midpoint of the year, Virgo's really, how do I want to say this? Like if we're, where's my pointer? All right, so if January is the month that we are kind of postulating, this would be nice, this is what I would like to create, and starting to take steps in action and making quick split-second decisions to do that. And then, you know, emanating in this sort of love, but that's still Gemini, which is still that air energy of thinking about things and connecting to things, you know, through loving thoughts, desires, that sort of thing. This is about feeling it, right? So if whether we're working on the same thing or we're working on something new, what I feel like the progression here is, or the difference here is that we're maybe a little bit more grounded, but we're also like much more like adept at understanding how we're feeling, what's right for us, what's appropriate for us, and channeling that energy. I love that this cat is sort of laying down, so there's a relaxed nature to this time. There's a period like he just knows what he needs. He knows how he feels. He's very clear. That's the king or the air aspect of the King of Cups, is he's clear on what he needs to feel or how he needs to feel to make these things happen for him as he moves towards the future. And so I like this. It feels empowered. It's not as elusive or as, I don't want to call the moon spooky because I don't feel that that's a spooky period. I just feel like it's a little bit of the unknown. And that's the part that maybe doesn't feel comfortable to Virgo, because Virgo, you guys like to plan, you know, like give you a map and let you work it out. You all love to form the plan of, we're going to do this in this many steps. And, you know, I just kind of see it like that sort of energy. And this moon card to me isn't necessarily about that. It's more elusive. It's a little bit more harder to pinpoint. But if you go through it and you get it's sort of like you get the prize from having done the work, you end up at this King of Cups where you feel self-assured, clear, aware, and in both your feelings and your mind as to what it is you need to do next or want next, and the steps you need to go to get there. All right, so let's look at the next card. Oh, Virgo. You guys get death. So death is the sign of Scorpio, which is still water energy, right? But I'm going to say this. I love how we go from white cat to black cat. No in the middle with you. No gray areas with the Virgos. All right, so what I am going to say about this death card is I feel like death doesn't necessarily indicate actual real death. It can be a loss. It can be. But for me, death is more about transformation. It's more about change, right? It's about things coming to an end so that new things can begin. And I think that maybe some of what we're learning in the wheel and in the moon is also coming to pass in this death card. Let me just look at these cards. You have a lot of major arcanas happening. I'm just trying to figure out what is it that we're leaving behind. So this is July. This is also Cancerian season when you're hitting all of this, which would make sense because you're dealing with like Cancerian energy in the moon. You're dealing with water energy, you know, Cancer energy in the King of Cups. We've got Scorpio energy in the death card. So there's a lot of emotional stuff going on through here. Some of it's comfortable, some of it's uncomfortable, and then some of it needs to just be removed, released, let go of in that death card. It's interesting to me too, because we have that Ace of Wands, which is that tree right above it, which is very springy, feeling like it's a tree's rising up out of the dead trunk. And then we have the death card right down below it. So it sort of feels like spring and then winter. All right, I just want to look at the next card because I kind of have a weird feeling about this. Ouch, fuck, Virgo! All right, so we've got the Hermit. This is Virgo energy. And another major arcana. Okay. All right, I'm going to say this. I have a feeling, and I don't want to freak anybody out, but I just have a funny feeling that for some of you, let's just say, this may not be for all of you, but for some of you, this death card is rather significant in the sense that I get a feeling that there is some sort of loss that's going to take place. I don't necessarily know that it indicates actual passing. I'm not saying that. So for anybody that isn't familiar with how I read or the way that I read, when I talk about loss, it could be the transformation of a job. It sort of has this feeling of like something has to go, like, and we don't have a choice. It's inevitable. This is kind of something that quite possibly we may know needs to go. We might even know that back with that wheel. We may even know it from 2020. We might know it in the Knight of Swords too. But I kind of feel like something needs to go, and it's in its passing or when it leaves, it's not an easy process for the Virgo. That's why the darkness of this death card shows up. I don't feel like it's like this big tragic moment. I just feel like it's going to be hard. part of the hardness, and the reason why I say that is because the following month is the Hermit, which is Virgo energy, but it drives you guys back into yourselves, right? Hermit is always about sort of this guy that goes into a cave kind of seeking that deeper knowledge. And we see that seeking going on in the Moon card also earlier in the year. So there's something going on here where Virgo is being required to dig deep into not only their emotions, but into their subconscious self, into their true desires, into what they truly believe that they deserve. I feel like this can be an extremely powerful year for the Virgos. And I don't want to say that they're heavy cards. There's just a lot of major arcana. There's a lot of energy happening in all of these months. I don't see anything super negative other than that death card, right? It feels like a significant sort of shift, loss, transformation, departure, whatever that might be for you, right? In whatever form it may be. If it's say a friendship ends, or a relationship, a romantic relationship ends for one of you, or maybe you lose your job unexpectedly. It's that sort of a kind of transformation that could take place. Remember, it's not necessarily set in stone. It could take place in this month. But I feel like that moon is sort of preparing us for it. Because when we go through that sort of that moon energy, and we sort of dig a little bit deeper, and we come out and we're in the King of Cups energy, it kind of sets us up. Like if you look at I'm going to just show you what I'm seeing here. I don't know if you guys will see it, but if you look at this white cat, he looks like he's going into the month all fine and good, and he's really happy. And maybe he climbs through a pipe or something. He comes out all black and sooty and dirty. His cup is even turned into this weird cross, and he's pissed. So when I'm looking at this, I feel like wherever we were the month before, we were good, and then the next month we're not. And that's sort of the abruptness of the death card, the unexpectedness of the death card. It could be a bit of a shock to your system a little bit. And I kind of feel like it could be because the Hermit speaks to this idea of maybe going inward, taking some time to heal, to sort of understand oneself better, to recuperate from whatever has gone on in the month previous in that death card. The Hermit is your guys' own energy. So I think this is going to be, to be honest, I haven't seen the last 4 months, but I really feel like this is your highest point of your year. And what I mean by that is the most gift. How do I want to say this? I feel like the most gift and the most reward is going to come to Virgos in this month. It's also going to probably be, this will have been maybe the hardest month, but this will also be difficult, I would say, or work. It's not like this is easy, right? But it is within your own energy. It is major arcana. It is the Hermit. It is the sort of the knowledge, the awareness, the intelligence, the spiritual information that comes out of the experience that we gain from whatever it was that happened here and from within ourselves over that period of time, over these 2 months, that we're going to be able to sort of use to our benefit down the line, right? Maybe either if it's not later in the year, it's later in our life, but it helps to set us up. Sometimes, I'm just going to use this as an example, sometimes the best way to learn is through adversity, right? And so I kind of feel like this is what's going on in these 2 cards, or that's sort of it could be a message there as to what to expect. Let's go into September and see what's going on in September. Okay, so September is the 8 of Cups. And it's definitely about departure also. Cups, again, we're back at that water energy, again in the emotions. We have this cat bailing. She's just I'm out. I can't do this anymore. But I feel like you can, Virgo. Let me see here. Hold on. I want to just see what their rendition is of the 8 of Cups, just to make sure. Yeah, it says leaving something behind to search for something else. But I feel like when we're doing this, 8s are always about balance for me, and emotional balance, right? So I feel like there is this opportunity to bring yourselves back into balance. I don't even see yourselves as being out of balance, even with that Hermit card. The Hermit card is Virgo. It is self-knowledge. It is self-awareness. It is deeper spiritual understanding through kind of going inward, through meditation, through reflection. similar to what we see in this moon here, but at a deeper, more personal level. And so this Eight of Cups could represent you guys moving towards something completely different. But whatever it will be, I feel like it will feel more in harmony or more in balance with where you're at emotionally. The Eight of Cups could also just represent coming into a more harmonic balance with your own emotions. Therefore, you're ready to kind of go back out of the house, right? In the sense, and I don't mean that literally, but that's sort of like the cat, like going again, going back to the drawing board, making it happen. That's also sort of the kind of a read that I'm getting on it. Let's look at October. October is the Knave of Pentacles. So this is about certainly rebuilding. The Knaves are always youthful characters, enthusiasm, excitement, willing to learn. This is your first earth sign card that we have here. So that's definitely your home element, which is good. I feel like after that Eight of Cups, it is about getting back on our feet. That's this Knave of Pentacles too. It's about he's looking to the future too. I feel like we're beginning to build again. This could be building of new jobs, building of new relationships. This could be the rebuilding of whatever we felt as though we lost here. I do feel like it feels like a new beginning to me. This card, what's drawing my attention with this card mainly is the flower bed that the cat sits on. That feels like new growth. And then, oh wow, there's a blue jay right outside my window. He just landed outside my window. And then the yellow sun, the brightness of the sky behind him feels very bright and promising. So I feel like October, for those of you that do struggle through some of this situation here, if this arrives at your doorstep, October will be the month where you kind of feel things are back to normal, hopefully, where things are hopeful again, where we can sort of maybe work towards creating, new opportunities or experiences, situations that might replace whatever it is we feel as though we might have lost. So let's look at November. Jesus. November is the Hanged Man. Virgo, y'all are fucking me up. Okay. So the Hanged Man is Pisces energy. So like you guys got I swear to God, you got all the water major arcanas, girl. Like, I mean, I don't know. You might want to just stay in the house all year, Virgo. Hangman is major arcana, so it's big energy again. And you guys got the BD energy this year. Like you thought 2020 was bad. I think that, no, it's not that bad. I'm just kidding. Hanged Man is Pisces energy, right? I do love that this cat, the way that they depict this cat is he's hanging from the curtains, which no cat should be doing, but every cat must, and it's kind of fun for them. The Hanged Man traditionally always represents, for me personally, when that indecision of Pisces, right? It's the two fish swimming in different directions. We can't really make a decision of which way to go, so we end up feeling stuck. And so that's how I associate the Hanged Man with the energy of Pisces. Virgo could feel stuck in November, not necessarily stuck by their environment, but maybe by their own doing. There might be some sort of fear, some sort of worry, some sort of self-doubt that is holding you in place where you can't necessarily make a decision or move forward. I feel like there's an optimism with the Knave, so we start to like want to learn and move forward again or start to create again, and then we put it on pause and we're like, oh shit, I don't want to fuck this up. I don't want to make a wrong decision. Right? And that's sort of the bigness of whatever this decision is to be made. The other thing about the Hanged Man is it's similar to the it's like, to me, it's like a bigger version of the Eight of Swords in the sense that the Virgo, or not Virgo, the Hanged Man always can look up at the tree and realize that he's the like rope is right there where he can pull it and release himself at any point in time that he chooses, right? That there is no real wrong answers. So if you guys are maybe overthinking things or worrying too much about things in the month of November, that might be the focus here, that you might need to just sort of like free yourself up, let yourself out of the tree or down from the curtains and let yourself sort of rest for a minute. Let's look at December, I'm afraid. Okay, Six of Wands, I'll take it. So Six of Wands is about celebration. Wands is the element of fire and desire and spirit. Six of Wands is always sort of, you know, that kind of celebratory parade in the streets sort of feeling, right? That's how it's usually depicted. This cat here has a victory wreath around his head. Whatever we're like mulling over the month previous, as far as the Hanged Man, I feel like whatever decision we're feeling that we're maybe either afraid to make or unable to make, it's not that we don't have the information, we just might feel like we can't move forward. The Six of Wands says that we will be moving forward into December in a positive way, or that the decision that we're fretting about or maybe not able to make, feel as though we can make the month previous. We will make it, we will do it well. That's the victory wreath around that cat's head to me. It feels like Virgo's intelligence saves the day, or your well thought out plans, even if it took you a month of fretting, you will be able to understand like why you did what you did and enjoy it or appreciate it, or have an understanding that you made the right decision, essentially. Let me just look at this overall reading. This is a lot of major arcana. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So half of these cards are majors. And 3 of those 6 are all water. I'm going to say this as I'm looking at this. I feel like this is a hugely transformative year for Virgo. I feel like this has the potential, or these cards have the potential to represent understanding oneself at levels that you didn't know were possible. Trusting oneself in ways that you didn't know you needed to. Doing work within yourself that will teach you things about yourself that are extremely invaluable in the long run. Those are the feelings that I get from the Hermit and the Hanged Man, certainly, especially the Hermit. I think your highest moment or your most exciting moment is going to be a toss-up between February and that's April, May, June, July. February and August. The problem is February. It's not a problem. What I'm going to say is that August is going to be have the potential for being misinterpreted as a high point because of the work involved, or the pain, the sadness, or whatever it is that you're working through from the months previous in July. The transformation that takes place in July. I will say this, with any of the really major like cards that are like the woo-woo cards that nobody likes to see, like Death, the Devil, or Tower, I always look at those as there is a grace and an ease that if we look at those cards without like sort of that fear and that initial reaction of resistance, and we actually ease into them and just allow them to happen, and then take the experience in the moment, in the present moment, as an experience to be educated or to be evolved or transformed, because that is what death is about. It's not about the actual loss, it's about the transformation of whatever is built there in its place. I'm going to say this, what's being built there in that place is found in the work that I feel like is in that Hermit card, which is in that Virgo energy. And that's where I feel like you guys are going to learn stuff about yourselves this year, or you have the potential to learn stuff about yourselves that you didn't even know was available to you. And that's the part where I feel like this is your strongest and highest month of the year, even though it may not feel like that, because it might be one of the harder months emotionally or feelings wise. It's going to bring you into yourself. It's going to bring you looking at yourself. It's going to make you have to reconcile or take inventory and get to the nitty gritty, right? Of who you are, what you're about, how you feel, what you need, all of that sort of stuff. And so I think, but in the end, when you navigate that month and you settle into that and you gain that understanding, that awareness, there's this high spiritual education that takes place there. And for each Virgo, it's going to be different because each of you have a different life experience, right? So you're each coming at it differently, but you're each sort of have this opportunity to have this great evolution in a way. an appreciation of yourself. I think that you guys will be okay, right? I'm not worried for you. What I think is that it just feels like big. Like with all of these majors, it just feels like this is not, I can't remember what Virgo's reading was for 2020. And I don't know that everybody's 2020 reading had a pandemic in it. I don't think that I predicted the pandemic. But what I mean is that, like, I don't know, you know, this year just feels just as like, it just feels like it's a big year. I'm just going to say that because I don't want to put too much more on it. And you guys might be tired by the end of this year, just after having dealt with 2020, and now here comes 2021 with like these big players. But the big players, I will say this, they always have, yes, the bigger energy, yes, the bigger lessons, yes, maybe the harder sort of things to face, but they also they have the biggest reward, right? They have the biggest gift. They have the biggest sort of connection to ourselves, spirit. I mean, we've got the Lovers in there. We've got the Moon, the Wheel of Fortune. There's some really beautiful cards in there. Even the Hanged Man is not a bad card per se. It's about feeling a little bit stuck and unable to make a decision, but it's also, you know, it teaches us how to trust ourselves. And so I think that these things are really big gifts for Virgo. All right, that is your forecast for the year. Again, these can always be changed. Every month I do a forecast on the channel, each month for each sign, so you can tune into those and see how those play out. You know, with choices and shifts and all of that sort of stuff, these things can change, so nothing is ever set in stone, like I said. And like I said, also, I feel that this is going to be a really pivotal, profound year for Virgo with that many majors. I think that you guys have a huge access to opportunity through, you know, maybe a little bit of adversity. But hey, you got through 2020, right? All right, so that's your forecast, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Please hit the thumbs up button if you liked it. Share this with any Virgos you might know. You might want to give them a heads up that this could be coming for them. And then share it out to any groups or wherever you think it might best be utilized. Leave me a question or comment if you feel so inclined. And I will see you guys. There's also a daily forecast on the Facebook channel if you are not the Facebook channel, the YouTube channel. If you tune in with us every morning, that is there. And like I said, every month there will be, you know, looking at these months a little bit more specifically, if that makes sense. Because again, like, we're trying to describe an entire month through one card. So this just gives me an overall view of kind of what the energy is for that month for you guys, what you guys might be facing. All right, have a great December, you guys, and I will see you next year. That's so weird to say. All right, bye-bye.